Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm Probably Awake. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite, if not my favorite, distortion plugin. And believe it or not, it's actually the one that's included in Ableton completely free. It has a ton of functionality with it. If you haven't tried it out and you're using Ableton, I highly recommend it. And that plugin is Saturator. So again, Saturator completely free. It comes with Ableton. It has so many different things that you can do with it. If I go ahead and just turn this one on down here, I have a few different options to show you for synths. So we have kind of just like a synth. We have a lower bass and then like a bass wobble here. And what I want to show you is how versatile Saturator is. So the first thing I want to get into, this is how it comes. I'll go ahead and just load in a new preset here. This is how it comes. So if you go ahead and just turn on and turn off, it doesn't really add anything to it until you start dialing in with some of these presets or these filters or whatever you want to call these down here. We have a soft clip up here, output, dry, wet, and then of course the drive. And what we can do here is, I like to expand this just to see the waveform a little bit better. It gives us some more parameters down here, which we'll get into in a second. And what you can do is, of course, with Saturator, you can up the drive. So here's what we go from. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn this up and turn down the output. So this, of course, kind of softens up the sound. We get a lot of high end pushing out of it. One thing that I like to do straight out of the box is if we go ahead and we pull this output down a little bit more, you can kind of get like a trancey sound out of it if you're using like a super saw like we are here. One thing that you can do too to make things sound more effect wise is if you mess with this depth. So listen to what happens here. It thins out at the top, and then at the bottom it adds a lot of low end depth. This could easily be used for effects, any transitions or sweeps, as well as it just sounds pretty cool for a lead if you were to throw this on something. If we go through here, we can add and see that there are different clipping modes here. We have a soft sine, a medium curve. With each of these, you can just see that it's taking the waveform, it's just pushing it up at a more harsh angle, hard curve. Notice the volume gets a little louder with each as well. We have this synfold fold. Adds a little bit more harmonics or a little bit extra frequency. We have this digital clip, and this is easy to use as like a limiter if you want to just soft clip it. And then my favorite out of all these is this wave shaper. And this is where all of these parameters here start getting messed with. See how it adds a little bit more frequency at top. We have a depth to figure out how deep the sound is going to go through this wavetable. And the linear, of course, is how sharp of an angle this is going to go at. So watch it. We have a dampening to kind of make the curves a little bit softer. So watch the wavetable here. And then this period. If we start messing with all the parameters, we can get some pretty cool effects. And you can see that this really just adds a lot of depth to a sound that sounded like this before. As a 10 more frequency, of course you'd have to EQ it and stuff to make this pretty usable in a track, but these are all 6 things that you can do just right here within the wave shaper, and this is not even touching the width, the frequency, the bass, the DC parameter, or the depth. So a lot of really cool things you can do with this, and this is just on a synth. What if we drag this same thing to this bass pattern? So I'll go ahead and just pop saturator here. Here's what the sound sounds like with nothing on it. With this same thing that we just had on the other one. What if we try a different one? How about this medium curve? So a ton of functionality here. Let's go back into the wave shaper one. Again, let's turn this off and A/B it. Doesn't even really sound like a bass anymore. You could definitely make this into a lead or something along those lines. How about if we drag it to a synth? And that's without anything on it. What if I take that out here and I put this on it? So definitely a lot out of it in that case. Definitely really accentuates that kind of vowel noise that it might be making. Of course, that's kind of messy, so we'll go in here. Well, let's take out some of that frequency in the high end. Super cool though. So saturator is a super useful effect. If anything, if you don't know how to use it or none of this stuff makes sense for you, just drag it in here. Make sure you open up this little arrow here so you can see the parameters of the wave shaper. But even if you just mess with some of the presets that are already in here, you can get some pretty cool effects. So you can add a lot of depth to your sounds that you're working with and make something that otherwise wouldn't have been possible without saturator. Of course, you can use a different distortion plugin, but in this case, I think saturation is really good because it's free. It's included with Ableton, and it has a bunch of parameters that you can start messing with and get some pretty cool effects. Again, this one with this wobble here is a pretty big difference. Pretty cool to see that it could do that much to sound. And of course, you can add even more stuff after this. So even if I just added like a regular bass rack on top of that, what if I do that and I solo this? Let's go ahead and turn this off and see what it sounds like. Now what if I add this? So add some more distortion. Pretty cool. Of course, it needs some EQ, but a cool idea. You could bounce this out, reprocess it, do the same thing, and just keep going and get something that was completely different from what you had at the start. So try out Saturator if you haven't yet, or if you know of a different distortion plugin, recommend it to me. I'll check it out if you recommend it in the comments. Again, if you liked the video, thank you for watching. Leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for sticking around, and we'll see you again on the next one.